Good morning from the Mount Shavano and Tabeguache trailhead. It's pretty obvious if we're here, we're going to be hiking Mount Shavano and Tabeguache Peak. For a full hike review of both of these 14ers and more information about this hike, you can check the link below. It's pretty crazy. I was just up north and it's like a totally different season down here. It's bone dry, it looks like, from the drive-in. So this hike for the pair of them is about 11 miles and just over about 4,300 feet of elevation gain today. As you can tell by the leash being wrapped around me and Juno here, this hike is dog friendly as well. And it's a nice kind of intro to two 14ers in one day. The last hike I was on, I was wearing mountaineering boots and crampons, and I have trail runners on today. On the drive in here, you get some beautiful views of basically the entire mountain. And the road in is a little rough at times, but it can be driven by pretty much every car. Just take it slow. It can get a little rocky in sections, so having decent tires with proper air pressure is definitely recommended, but really shouldn't be an issue to get here for almost everybody. In the winter and spring, when there's lingering snow, the road closes about 1.5 miles from the trailhead. So you'd have to maybe tack on 3 total miles to this hike. First trail junction with Juno peeing of the day, pretty obvious. This is a new sign since the last time we were here. Your second and final trail junction of the day. These are blatantly obvious, but you'd be surprised how many people get lost with stupid things like that. Just shy of 1 mile in. It was basically just working up this gully. Pretty boring, pretty monotonous, and decent grade. Very quiet out here today, which is nice. There's about 10 cars at the trailhead when I started, and I was a little worried it's gonna be a shit show here, but so far it's not, at least. After a little reprieve from the elevation, you're gonna reach this little rock slope and an evident slope to your right. That's your next goal, is to work up there. And elevation is going to be pretty consistent from here all the way to the top of Shavano, which is just through the trees that way. Finally emerging from tree line here, and where Juno is, trail skirts across and basically kind of goes through that hill across this slope and up to the ridge. That's a false summit, but more or less the same direction as where Mount Shavano's summit is. Giving you some views here. Beautiful day, can't complain. This right here is known as the Angel of Shavano. It's a more of a gully than a couloir, but it's a very popular spot to snowboard or ski, and you can just drop in there, and sometimes you can go a bit further down, but this gap here is going to be a problem for most people come May-ish. Slowly working our way up these slopes here. Wind is picking up significantly. Almost topped out the ridge, and once you get to the top of it, you gotta go right. I forgot how steep it is though. Whew. My legs are not ready for this yet. Incredibly frustrated right now. The winds today were supposed to be 10 to 15 miles per hour with 25-ish mile per hour gusts in the afternoon. These are easily in the 30s and gusts easily into the 40s. It's just so frustrating when you do all your work, check multiple weather sources, and they're all wrong. It just really sucks. You'll be coming from up over here, and then you're just gonna kind of go straight through me. You will see a bunch of social trails here. They all kind of get you to the same place, so just try to stick to one, and they all will bring you to the top of Shavano. Oh, thank God. Wind's dying down a little bit. Looking down and looking up. That is a true summit, just right there. This one you'll see first. That's a false one, but we're very close. Hopefully this wind stays the way that it's going right now. Get up, Gina. Summit of Mount Shavano. So luckily the wind died down quite a bit because that stretch on the saddle there was miserable. So from trailhead to summit, it was pretty much all dry and about 4.5 miles, a little bit over. Views up here are beautiful. Give you a quick rundown. Okay, I stand corrected. Scott just told me this is actually Mount Shavano. I've been saying Shavano like an idiot for years. And behind me, I've been saying Tabeguache. How do you say it?
Tabeguache.
It's actually Tabeguache. So not even close. But anyway, that's where we're going next. Behind me, it looks like there's a bit more snow over there. So it might be pretty miserable with post holing. We'll see how firm it is. But it's a pretty straight shot. It's a mile from here to there, so this adds 2 miles round trip for a total of 11 if you want to do both peaks. Probably an extra 1,000-ish feet of elevation, I would say, and you do have to remember that you're going to gain it on the way back, so save energy as well. When you're up here, take a look at the weather, because if you're going to go over to Tabeguache, there's no block from the elements. So you know, if something rolls in, as first-hand experience, you have nowhere to go. So you just really want to make sure weather's good, do your research on the forecast, blah blah blah. But yeah, you don't want to get caught in anything. So hoping the wind holds up for us, and Juno and I are gonna head over to Tabeguache now. In terms of dogs, this is definitely the most challenging terrain they will have, is this section. But again, nothing too nuts. And it's a pretty straightforward ridgeline, and also well traveled, so you'll most likely see other people heading over here as well. If I have any weather people out there watching these, I'd like to apologize, because the day has just turned around completely back to what it was supposed to be, which was mild winds, gust every once in a while, but it's beautiful out. Mount Shavano is 14.2. Tab Peak is 14.1 5. So you don't have to climb up quite as tall as Shavano was. Lucky for you. Juno has more important things to do than hike. She's hunting for chipmunks. But anyway, from here, you're going to kind of go down to the saddle, and basically you're going to stick right on this side of Tab Peak to get to the summit, which is right there. So it's a very straightforward route. Looking back, you can't even see the summit of Shavano, and looking west, Juno is now sticking her head in random holes in the ground. What could possibly go wrong? Down to the saddle of Tab Peak and Shavano. Juno is mucking about in the snow. The saddle is 13.7, so you have about 400 feet of gain to go back up, and then of course about 500 feet to go back up to Shavano. About halfway up Tab, and you got Shavano back there, your whole route in view to the summit, and a couple hundred feet until we get to the summit of Tab. Juno is in all kinds of heaven right now, just so happy. I love making this dog happy. It makes me feel so good. See you. Whew, summit of Tab Peak. Beautiful up here. Almost windless. Clouds are non-existent in the views. Well, I think they speak for themselves. So, almost exactly a mile from Shavano to Tab. And yeah, pretty easy, straightforward hiking. A little bit of route finding because there's a bunch of social trails, but nothing crazy. Oh man, what a beautiful day. So just sitting up here enjoying some time on the summit and enjoying the beautiful views behind me here. Juno's wiped, giving her some time to rest as well, but absolutely perfect up here. The wind's died down, and just another lesson of life to just keep pushing and persevering because things get easier, which I think is really a message we all need in these weird times. So very straightforward hike up to Tab Peak. Very little route finding. It's pretty obvious where you go from Shavano. Shavano has a ton of people on it, and Tab, it's me and Juno hanging up here. So that's pretty much usually the case. Most people who don't think they have it in them will peter out on Shavano. On the summit here, you got amazing views down into the San Juans, over into the Elks, up into the Gore Range, and of course the valleys below. It's just really nice up here. And once again, for me at least, views that I'm jaded, I've seen these a lot, I don't really love, but the snow-covered peaks behind me just make it look so awesome. For gear list for this hike, you can check the description below. I'll have more information about everything I use for this hike, but it's really straightforward, honestly. You're really probably going to need hiking shoes or hiking boots, and maybe hiking poles on the way down, and a backpack, and water and food, and my usual stuff. I did just make a video on what to pack for a 14er, so if you're new to 14ers, check that out. I'll link that in the description below as well. But yeah, pretty straightforward hike. No technical gear or anything like that needed. I was originally going to wrap this up at the car, but it's so pretty up here. I'm just going to wrap it up here. So this is going to be to the book, just about 11 miles. A nice moderate pair of 14ers that can really be done by anyone who puts their mind to it. So in terms of dogs, Juno's been on a ton of 14ers and is very acclimated to the mountains, but I would recommend not every dog be on this hike. There's definitely some loose rock boulder hopping, so if you have a dog that's smaller or with pads on their feet that aren't really acclimated to the mountains, you're gonna have some bleeding probably. But overall, it is a dog-friendly hike, I would say. I'm gonna wrap this video up here with these amazing views behind me here. For a full hike review of Mount Shavano and Tabeguache Peak, you can check the link below. I'll have more information on everything you need to know about this hike. Please subscribe not to miss any future hiking related content. And as always, we will see you on the next adventure.